JD Davison balls out. Best performance of the summer for him. What does that mean? What does that mean about the coaching staff? Plus, a little detour about some NBA news. It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. Thank you so much for making this show part of your daily routine. I am here for you Monday through Friday with a free, fresh podcast available wherever you get your podcast, whatever device, whatever app. Locked On Celtics is on there. So if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Subscribe, please. You can also watch the show on YouTube. You can subscribe there. You can get a glimpse of us as we talk. And yeah, it's a fun thing to do on YouTube too. Place the comment if you are a commenter. It's a great way to kind of interact with other people. I'm John Karalis. I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. I've also written a book called The Boston Celtics All-Time All-Stars. And I was one of the media voters for the Celtics 75th anniversary team. Today, Friday, we're talking about I guess what we can classify as the last regular season summer league game. Celtics beating the snot out of the Memphis Grizzlies behind a monster game from JD Davison, who looked really, really good. A couple other guys look good. We'll talk about this game throughout the show. And when I say we in the plural, it's because I got my guy, Tom Westerholm, in the house. Friday, Tom, you feeling these Friday vibes?
I feel it, man. It is technically Friday, and I am vibing. Yeah, man.
All right, let's kick it off then. Celtics, win. I don't care about the win, but JD Davison is what I care about.
Well, hold on. I mean, we should talk about the fact that the Celtics won, but they were mathematically eliminated from being in the Summer League Championship. So yet another year with no ring. Blow it up, Danny. I often say
it. Yeah, they're not going to get one of those fresh championship rings, the summer league rings. I don't. First of all, let's just start with that. Where do you stand on the ring thing? Because I get it, and I think for some people it's going to be like a few people are going to be like, yeah, wow, this is going to be special. Those are the people who are like, this is the pinnacle of their career. I don't know that anyone else is going to care. Like, what percentage of the players do you think are going to be like, oh, ooh, championship ring?
All right. But counterpoint, if you put together a 5-on-5 like league, right, and it ran for like a week and a half, at the end of that league, the champion gets like a T-shirt that they get to wear around that says like, like South Hadley Men's League champion or whatever. Like, you get to wear that shirt around and you get to feel real cool with your South Hadley Men's League T-shirt. This is the NBA. This is Summer League. They make millions and millions of dollars off this thing. Yeah, like, you win that championship, it's still gonna feel cool. Like, it's like Men's League championship. So you know what? If you just level up the amount of money that goes into like a Men's League championship to like a Summer League championship, I think a ring is complete. Oh, geez. Can you cut that? Knocked a cup off my counter.
No,
but
I'm not cutting that. What did you just do?
I knocked a glass off, but it's still intact. So pretty good.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. But anyway.
We're not cutting that.
All right. Fair enough. Not that good. But anyway, I think that a very expensive ring is deeply appropriate for a.
No, sure. I mean, I still have a sweatshirt, a hoodie from a Men's League championship that I won at this point, probably at least 6 years ago. Yeah. So do I need to have a 6-year-old hoodie from a Men's League in New York City? No, but I'll still wear it and be like, yeah, I remember this. This was cool. This was fun. Yeah. But I don't think that, I don't know. If a guy in Summer League won the championship and then flamed out and couldn't get it, and is working like selling insurance. Then you take that Summer League ring and you put it on your desk, and people come by and go, "Oh wow, hey, what is that?" Like, "Oh yeah, oh you didn't know? Yeah, I get a little cup of coffee with the Celtics or whatever." Like, "Yeah, we won this Summer League championship." That makes you feel like pretty good.
Yes. And also, if you are an actual player who's going to make it, right? Like maybe you're JD Davison, like let's say the Celtics had won it, right? And they won a ring. You're JD Davison. You might go back and look in your, it's not going to be like on your desk. It's not going to be like in your trophy room.
Sure.
You go back, you're poking through your junk drawer. You find like, man, remember that time in Vegas? Like we rattled off like 4 wins. That Summer League team was nice. Like it's just like a fun little memory. And
Sure.
I think both ways are fine. So I'm pro Summer League ring.
Okay.
It doesn't matter, because it's Summer League, but I think it's fun for all parties involved.
Sure. I mean, I really, honestly, I don't have a strong opinion on the Summer League ring.
I've come around on having a strong opinion. I have a strong opinion. I'm pro ring.
You're swaying me. You're swaying me to pro ring. Honestly, I don't care. Like it really doesn't matter. Like you want to give him a ring, give him a ring. Give him give him a car, give him something. That's fine. I feel like it's a little ridiculous, but like whatever. It really, honestly, it doesn't even matter. Give him a ring, whatever. I did like the was it Himmelsbach got the quote from somebody that said, if we win the championship and get these rings, we're throwing them into the Bellagio fountain. All right. But whatever. The Celtics are not going to win the ring. So it is a moot point from the Boston perspective, but they did get a hell of a performance from JD Davison, who dropped 28 points, 10 assists. He's been dropping dimes for throughout Summer League. 28 and 10 for him. Another great performance.
Davison is second in assists at Las Vegas to Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey is averaging 8 per game. Davison is averaging 7.8. And I would contend that Giddey has a more reliable assist target in Chet Holmgren. So
sure, yeah. I mean, look, I think when we look at what Davison has done, I think it's been the thing I'm most impressed with, and the thing that I highlighted on Boston Sports Journal was the progress. It's all about signs. It's not necessarily like, hey, 28 and 10, that's great. A few of them are alley-oops. It's great that he's throwing the alley-oops. Why are the alley-oops available? Because the other defense sucks. And the other offense is turning the ball over a ton because there are a ton of turnovers in Summer League. The transition defense is terrible because that's just kind of how it goes in Summer League. So if you have a couple of athletic guys running down the wing, they're going to be alley-oops available. So he's got a few assists that way. I'm not trying to downplay it. It's great that he sees it. It's better than not seeing it. But at the same time, like the numbers don't always tell the whole story. What I do like is that he has improved over the course of the week, and the finishes that he wasn't finishing at the beginning of the week, he's starting to finish now. The body control is a little bit better because at the beginning of the week, he's flying down the court and just going full speed and not varying his speeds at all, or he's just going to the rim and having a tough time finishing because he's a little out of control. In this game, at the rim, he seemed a little bit more in control. He was stopping himself a little bit and finishing as the defender was flying by. So the adjustments, so that's the coaching. He's looking at the film. He's accepting the coaching. He's doing little things to make himself better. That, to me, is the most impressive thing because it gives me the sign that, hey, the stuff that we talked about, Tom, which way does a second-round guy go when he was projected to be potential lottery and now he's dropped into the second round? Does he just go, James Young, hey, I thought I was going to be a lottery pick? Or does he say, oh, crap, I messed around one year and I went from lottery to the second round. I can't mess around anymore. At least the accepting of the coaching opens up the door to say, oh, maybe he does see where he is and he understands what he needs to do.
Yeah, I think definitely, man. He was talking after the game about working out with his agent, Mike Miller. 3-point shooting is obviously going to be really important to him. And I think it's going to be really important because the other thing about the NBA game is something that he noted in his opening press conference, which is that that he feels like having a more open court is going to be way more beneficial for him. A guy who is super athletic, a guy who can get into the paint, a guy who can who can kind of create all of those layups for himself that he was missing earlier in the week that he started making in this game. That a lot of that stuff comes from a wide open court as opposed to a college court that's kind of, mushed together and there's all kinds of zones and all kinds of weird stuff. So, I think it's schematic, and I think, part of it is 100% what you were just saying, where he is kind of taking these little bits and pieces and working on them and improving them. And I think it might just kind of be a better fit for him too, to be able to kind of explode into that space or, get out in transition and just kind of, read and react. Cause he does seem to have a kind of decent feel. Like he's throwing these lobs that are, only going to be caught, in summer league. That's partly true, because like the defense is bad, but also the Celtics have Rob Williams. So like, you can kind of throw some of these lobs. Like, sure. I know it's, Kabengele is abusing, summer league bigs, but Rob does that to the big league bigs. So, I think there's a lot to be encouraged about with him. Honestly, he's scoring, he's getting to the rim. I'm a little bit surprised by how good his pick and roll reads have been. Honestly, he's had some turnovers, but I think he's been just not, a superstar, but better than I expected, because I was expecting like a very raw guard. He's a little bit better than that. So I think that's a really encouraging sign.
Yeah, I think that's all correct. And yeah, I don't want to overly downplay. I am very much downplaying a ton of summer league results just in general, because I see people going, a little over the top. So, you don't
think that JD Davison is Derrick Rose? You think that he might be something slightly below prime Derrick Rose?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So
Ayton, John Karalis.
So but look, I think there's a lot to like. We'll continue the conversation on Davison and maybe get into some of the other guys that were pretty good here for Boston. First, let's talk about BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs, all of your information. Head on over to BetOnline.net, the latest developments and all of the things that you can bet on. Obviously, Major League Baseball, we're heading into the All-Star game. You can bet on the Home Run Derby. You can bet on some of the in-game prop stuff for the All-Star game. You can bet on Summer League. You can get in there and bet on that championship game, that all-important Summer League championship game if you'd like. Obviously, there's fights all the time, boxing, MMA, that's all there. Tennis tournaments all over the place, golf tournaments all over the place. So head on over to betonline.net, your best spot for all your scores, podcasts even, news. It's all there. Head to the website. You can use your mobile device if you'd like. You can learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline is where the game starts. Please gamble responsibly. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. How about making Locked On NBA your second listen? Lots to cover. The DeAndre Ayton stuff has been kind of weird. There's so many thoughts on that DeAndre Ayton situation with Phoenix. But he's going to stay in Phoenix. They're going to be talking about it on Locked On NBA. I host with Jake Madison on Wednesdays. It's rotating hosts, but a lot of fun opinions. Check out Locked On NBA. Wherever you got Locked On Celtics, you can find Locked On NBA. Make that your second listen. Let's get back to Tom Westerholm. That Ayton stuff, let's just take a little detour. What a little game they played. They saved themselves some money because they didn't have to go full max, their max. Obviously Ayton's going to be okay, but you don't usually see teams play that game with young stars like that. Like, can you imagine the Celtics playing that game with, I don't know, Jaylen Brown or something like that? That was a restricted free agency is a whole thing. Phoenix, what they just did was what every fan says you should do. They did the fan playbook, but I think it's because they were cheap.
I think they're cheap, and I think it does say something about DeAndre Ayton, right? Like that he's just like he's not, he's not Jaylen Brown. I think that's what we know now, right?
Yeah.
Like that I mean, well, and I mean the Celtics didn't give Jaylen a max either, but I think, now they probably would if I would assume given the opportunity. But like
they do.
Yeah. So like, because if you look at what the Suns did with Devin Booker, they didn't mess around, right? They're like just like, nope, here's your money, dude. Please have all this money. And I think it probably does. Like, look, I think, restricted. We've talked about restricted free agency and how two guys who believe deeply in labor power feel about restricted free agency. But like, I think it also just kind of says something about how good they think DeAndre Ayton is. He's not a guy that you go out and and honestly, I'm sure they gave. I would hope that the decision makers in Phoenix gave some thought to the fact that they were making Ayton, that they're probably going to make Ayton pretty mad about this. I don't think he's going to forget about it. We saw, Gordon Hayward, I think, left Utah. I think there were probably some hard feelings there based on his restricted free agency situation. We know that happens. I'm sure Phoenix knows that. So I think they probably took that into consideration and just were kind of like, maybe 4 years of DeAndre Ayton is enough. Like maybe
it's gonna be.
I don't know. Maybe we're good after that.
Maybe it's so interesting, and I'm not going to turn this into an NBA show, but just the fact that this just happened, I think it's a fascinating discussion. The Ayton discussion is so fascinating because on the one hand, I want to be like, you cheap so and so's, but on the other hand, be like, that is also a lot of money for a center.
It's a lot. And not a good center, a very good center, but just not the best center in the league and not somebody who you can there's not an easy path for him to get there either, I don't feel like.
But here's the thing. The Celtics are going to be impacted by this because the whole league is going to be impacted by this because in December, both sides can opt out of the CBA, and you probably will. And you got to come up with a new deal. And this whole concept of you got to max out your good players because you're kind of forced into it.
Mm-hmm.
That what happens at the end of Robert Williams' extension, or whomever else. Hey, let's fold JD Davison into this mix. Let's pretend that he does become the second round steal. He does become oh my God, how did this guy drop? Let's pretend that he goes into restricted free agency after having a surprising year. And you say, wow, okay, we've maxed out Jaylen and Jayson and maybe Rob at this point. And like, here comes JD Davison. And you say, well, we don't want to pay. Maybe he's not at that level. Maybe he is that second tier, but he's like, you got to max me out. He's the, D'Angelo Russell, like he's like that next tier, but like a team kind of is forced into maxing these guys out. The Celtics should be tax-paying team. Like, what if let me reframe this example. What if JD Davison becomes just a really good role player who deserves at that point whatever really good role player money is, but because the Celtics keep having to max out their really good players, they're like, yeah, we got to let this guy walk, or we got to trade him, and because the tax bill is getting too big. That's where the DeAndre Ayton situation comes in. That I think this discussion can fuel a 2, 3, 4 hour discussion about restricted free agency, the future of the CBA. It's going to have far-reaching impact.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, like you said, I think one of the things the players would probably say is just like, okay, then JD's going somewhere else where he can get his money, right? Like that's just like
right
the nature of that half of that side of the organization or of that side of the negotiations. It will be interesting to see.
Very interesting to see. I mean, lost in all of this is there are fans out there right now who want to buy a JD Davison jersey, and I don't even know what number he's actually going to wear for the Celtics. Has that even been determined? I don't even know what number he's wearing right now for the summer.
He's wearing 20 right now.
So
we'll see.
We'll see. But anyway, I just think that the fan has to be taken into account. So often labor issues are just owners versus players, and I understand that, and I've been in negotiations for collective bargaining agreements. I've never had to consider, well, what do the fans want?
Yeah.
And I don't think that gets considered. I think it's all about like splitting the money and trying to figure the business side out. But there has to be some consideration for, hey, I'd like to be invested in a guy and feel like he's going to be around for a while. And you don't want to limit their ability to, hey, my time in Boston is done, or my time in this city is done. I'm just not ready to, I just don't want to play here. I don't want to work for this company anymore. So there's no reason why I should have to. Like that concept. You don't want to take that away from anybody. But I don't know. Anyway,
yeah. I mean, it kind of feels like you want to give the team the tools to make its place a place where fans want to go see the game and players want to stay. It's kind of an odd triangle there, you know.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, yeah. This was all a diversion that ended up becoming an entire segment in the middle of a summer league podcast. But hey, we're I do think we should get together. I like your perspective. We are very like-minded. We should bring a third person in who's maybe a little differently minded, so we can have like a whole week of let's talk about collective bargaining. I'm sure people listening are like, are you sure you want to do more than 5 minutes? More? You've just done 8 minutes on it, and it seems like that's its natural end. But
do you want me to like fire off like a quick like summer league take to like make this segment also like so that you can kind of, you know, make this segment half labor, half summer league, just for
I mean, I feel like I tried to do that with JD Davison in there.
Yeah, that's true. That does
you
work,
know.
yeah. Yep.
So why don't we take a second? Let's regroup. Let's collect our thoughts and get back to the summer league talk and finish the podcast like that. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right, let's do that. We'll take a second. We'll get back to the summer league. My bad. We took a detour. I was trying to tease the Locked On NBA show. We got onto Ayton, but I find that stuff so fascinating. You should find it fascinating too, because it's gonna impact the Celtics. A new collective bargaining agreement is coming. I know it sounds boring. You don't want to hear about the particulars, but this is super important stuff. Take a second. We'll be right back. So, Tom, Justin Jackson, huh?
Yeah, man. That 2 for 10 is definitely gonna from 3. It's definitely gonna get you in the league.
I just had to say something other than what I got to start the segment off on what I'm supposed to be talking about. So one of my many diversions doesn't lead us down the wrong path. Matt Ryan didn't play. He said on the broadcast that it was still his ankle. We said the other day, hey, if Matt Ryan is held out, it's a good sign. I'm still leaning that this is a good sign because it's not like he had an air cast on. He was sitting pretty casually on that sideline.
He did look very comfortable on the bench.
Very comfortable, cross-legged, just kind of like watching, like, oh, yeah, this is interesting. Didn't seem like a guy that was pretty hobbled. Now, my contention is if you don't have – if I'm just thinking about myself. If I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, my ankle's a little sore, but I don't feel like I have a spot on this roster. There are still a bunch of scouts and agents and executives here. I'm going to tell them that my ankle feels fine. There's no MRI machine in the back. They're going to have to take my word for it. As long as I look decent. No, they're not trying to win a game. So if I feel good, I'm going to play because I do want a camp invite. So if Matt Ryan is sitting there pretty comfortable, Matt Ryan, the basketball player, by the way, if he's still sitting there feeling pretty comfortable, just chilling on the sideline, that seems like a guy who's pretty cool with where he is in his basketball life, which leads me to think that he's sticking around.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's I'm curious, you know, it's funny. The other day when you made that point, I agree. And I still do. I do think it's interesting, you know, that he is kind of taking himself out of position. Like if what is happening is that the Celtics and he are just kind of like, all right, like let's just sit. He is kind of taking himself out of contention for other roster spots if he and the Celtics have agreed on a two-way, right? Like, so like, if there's like another team that's like, hey, Matt Ryan, you can come here for, for whatever. He is costing himself opportunities to kind of prove himself for that. So that's kind of interesting. So I wonder if that, has any bearing going forward, but he is, I agree with you. I mean, he looked very comfortable. I mean, I think, like the Celtics know that like they didn't have a ton of shooting last year, and they know that Matt Ryan can shoot, and they know that Sam Hauser can shoot, and they're gonna, I would guess that it makes sense to bring them both, even if one of them's on a two-way and you later convert him or something like that. Like, no problem. Like, I think it makes sense to bring both guys back somehow.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people fall in love with this summer league. Like, people see big performances, Kabengele didn't have a particularly great performance in this game statistically. Trevion Williams did a little bit better, 11 points, 11 rebounds, leading the break on attack. First of all, it's fun to see a big guy lead the break, but neither of these guys, Kabengele or Williams, when they've gone and led the break, it hasn't looked exactly fluid. So I don't know. The only other guy on this roster that I think, he might have a chance is Broderick Thomas.
Yeah.
Everyone else I feel like is either going to be on someone else's, a camp invite for somebody else, or a camp cut stash in Maine kind of guy. I think the only guys in this summer league team that are sticking around, Hauser, Davison. Davison's already on the two-way. Hauser's already on his contract. Matt Ryan, I think, is sticking around, and you have Broderick Thomas with an opportunity. And I don't even know if he's eligible for a two-way.
I think he would be, but regardless, I also think Westerholm has a real shot. Like, I don't know about like this year, but like he's shown me some stuff during summer league that I think's been, it's
not this season.
Probably not this season. Yeah, I think.
I just don't think you start the clock on him.
Yeah,
why would you pay the tax on him when you have him as a stash? Yeah, he's showing promise. You could give him a two-way, and that would mean either choosing him over one of these other guys, or you just give Matt Ryan a roster spot. We're going too far that way with these guys. Now all of a sudden, Begarin has a spot, and Thomas and Hauser and Matt Ryan. Like, all of a sudden you have the end of the bench like fully. Yeah. The Celtics have said we're adding a big man, and I don't think it's one of these big men in summer league. No matter how good some people might think they look, these guys are not. I don't think they're ready. They're going to find an actual established big man because they've been looking for actual established talent. So that they're going to add somebody else. We can't have this many guys. So I think Johan is just he's super athletic. I think his athleticism has shown a lot and helped him succeed a lot. But I still think he has a lot of room to grow. And when you have his rights and you have a league, a pretty good league for him to play in France, go there. Adam Himmelsbach had a great story about I
was just going to mention that. Yep.
Yeah. That great kind of like you still have the film sessions over Zoom. You can still coach the hell out of this guy. So do it that way. Don't spend your tax money on him now. Spend it when he's ready and start the contract when he's ready. You're just wasting time, and you're wasting his time, I think. Yeah. And it's not, as we, coming off the segment with labor issues, I'm not trying to screw the guy out of money. Actually, by waiting, you're starting him at a place where he can end up making more money. Right. So anyway, I don't think he's in. I really just think that the competitions between Matt Ryan and Broderick Thomas, and however that goes, keep one. Somehow those are the two guys. That's it.
I agree. And I mean, I said this last time, I would highly prioritize Matt Ryan. I think that guy's good. But generally speaking, yeah, I think, I'm honestly, I'm with you. I'm pretty skeptical on both bigs. Like I wanted to, I wanted to believe in Trevion Williams. And he certainly can pass. Like that's sure. Yeah. He throws some nice passes out of the post, but I think like bringing in a guy like that, unless you're going to try to turn him into Jokic, just like probably isn't that, isn't that useful. And then with Kabengele, I don't think you bring him in to be your backup to the starting center. I just don't think that's why you bring that guy in. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough, but I do think that the real promise on this team and the real reason that this team has been so good at Summer League is the guards and the wings. And that seems to be where the Celtics are going to kind of pick from, if we were to guess.
Let's talk about one other guy who I think has been impressive in a debut for the Celtics in Summer League. How about Ben Sullivan? How about here's a coach who has how many of these guys have played together? None. You have a couple of days of practice, a week of practice, and you go to Summer League, and the team has gotten better over 3 games. And not like, I'm not trying to overblow the coaching, but like, you got a bunch of guys who don't play together, and you get your point guard to show improvement, noticeable improvement over 3 games. You've got the entire team playing better, and yeah, there's going to be the individual forays here and there. I saw one, forget who it was, in the last game. It was a 2-on-1. And instead of dishing it off to the guy on the right side, I forget who it was, but he dribbled. He just like, nope, I'm doing an inside out dribble and I'm going to go down the right. He completely like jumped in front of his teammate so he could get the layup on the right side, which was just a complete abandonment of a 2-on-1 break and not how it's supposed to go at all. But anyway, aside from some of those.
You were fuming when you saw that, huh?
I more laughed at the situation. Okay. I mean, but like, there's a part of me was like, "Oh, come on, dude!" But like, it's a classic Summer League. Nope, I want this bucket. I need this bucket. I need these points on my stat sheet.
Yep.
But it might have been Aubrey Dawkins. But anyway,
if it was, I believe he was also the guy who tried the most ill-advised 360 dunk I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yes. so yeah. But I will say that, like, from a coaching perspective, if you can get a team of guys who never play together to show improvement and you see actual individual improvement like that, there's some level of coaching there. You're like, okay, this is actually a pretty good job by these guys.
No, totally. And, if you want to take it one more galaxy brain step higher, how about Brad Stevens bringing in like a group of guys that's kind of interesting to watch? Like, yeah, like not all of them are going to make the team, but you can see why he wanted to look at, Kabengele. You can see why he wanted to look at Trevion Williams. You can see why he wanted to look at a lot of these guys. Like even AJ Reeves walks onto the court for the first time, just buries a 3, and then the buzzer rings. It's like, he brought together a bunch of dudes who are kind of interesting basketball players, and I don't know, pretty good coaching, pretty good GM work. Yeah, it's not bad. People
are actually having fun watching this team.
Yeah,
it gets to a point where it's like the fun, like I think we said this at the beginning. Have fun, enjoy the hell out of Summer League. Don't read anything into it. Just that's where we should be. I don't want to take away from anybody's fun. Where I come in and be the wet blanket is like, no, Kabengele is not going to be your third center. He's just not.
He's just not.
I'm sorry. If you put Luke Cornett out there, he'd be scoring 40 a game. Like it's just
yeah. Luke Cornett would dominate the summer league.
He would dominate summer league. So I feel like I see some of that reaction out there. People like the loving and enjoying the hell out of summer league takes people the next natural progression of like, well, wait a minute. Yeah, I know you said love these guys, but like, I actually like this guy. I think he could be good. And like, hey, now I got to come in and be like, hey, easy. I get it, but no, sorry. I don't know. I just don't see anybody else on this team that's going to do anything like that, but they are interesting and fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the two guys who I actually am like, if people are looking for like somebody to like, if they want to do like actual basketball on these guys as opposed to just like, hey, it's summer league, have fun. I think the two guys who like JD Davison is as athletic as promised. And if he polishes up his game to the point he does have the physical tools and some things that he can do that are very promising, like that could be like genuine, like interesting player. It's worth like keeping an eye on him, right? And yeah. I think Matt Ryan is the same way. I think he's got like kind of a I really do. I think he's got like a starter pack of 3-point shooting and size that is just you can do stuff with that.
You just love Matt Ryan, man.
I think he's good. I think he's gonna be pretty good.
You see so much of yourself in Matt Ryan. That's exactly the type of player you are. It's exactly who you want to be. That's
kind of.
Come on.
It's like I win a lot of pickup games, though. You know what I mean? So, like, get the good version of me. Maybe you win some NBA games.
I love it. I love it. You are I love how enamored you are with Matt Ryan.
I do think he's good. I think he's a good basketball player. He's my guy.
I don't disagree. Obviously, and that's the other thing. We'll wrap it up with this. All of these guys are good basketball players. Right. Like even the ones who are like kind of iffy, that these are still guys that would walk into any YMCA and be like gods. This is how good these guys are, that even the worst looking of these players is just so much better than so much of the world. So yeah, Matt Ryan is one of the best basketball players in the world. And he's like, maybe he can hook on.
Matt Ryan is one of the best basketball players in the world. And probably is going to be the starter on the 2024-25 Boston Celtics. So
all right. I love it. We'll leave it there then. That's a good place to just leave it right there and say thank you to Tom Westerholm. Appreciate you, bro.
For sure.
And I appreciate every single one of you who have been listening and watching all along. Thank you so much. If you've gotten to this point and you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe. Watch the show on YouTube. Ring that bell so you know whenever we drop a new show. You can also comment on the show and get into conversations. It's a great place to do that. I would also love it if you shared the podcast. Free daily Monday through Friday podcast. You should be telling everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.